All right, folks. Thanks for checking out the video. I want to play a clip today from former Congressman, Vice Presidential nominee, and House Speaker Paul Ryan basically waving the white flag on cultural issues. Now, Paul Ryan, as you know, was a congressman from the late 90s until about 4 years ago. He was the House Speaker during the first two terms, or the first 2 years of Donald Trump's term, and he proceeded to stand in the way of much of Trump's agenda. So I'm going to play this clip from Paul Ryan on CBS Morning Show, and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
Can I get your thoughts on that movement just quickly? I know we have to go, but Republican lawmakers around the country are pushing legislation when it comes to banning books. It could be trans rights. Call it anti-woke, or however you want to label it. Is that a good approach, a good strategy? You're a football fan. Is that the way you should approach it?
Yeah, I'm not a culture war guy. I think it's really polarizing. Look, on some of these issues, I'll side, with the anti-woke crowd. But to me, I'm worried about a debt crisis. I'm worried about, the future of our country and China. There are big policy problems that we need to tackle if we want to have a great 21st century for this country. My work at AEI, Notre Dame, and my Poverty Foundation is all about poverty and upward mobility. What I worry about are the big policy challenges that are going unresolved or made worse by Joe Biden. So that's why I want to win this election so we can actually fix these big policy problems. Yeah. Cultural war politics is good primary election politics. It's very divisive, but it's effective politics. It's effective politics. I'll grant you that. But for me, I'm an old Jack Kemp guy. I believe in inclusive, aspirational politics. Solve problems. We got huge problems.
Yeah.
So we got a debt crisis coming. So we got to get on top of that. Neither Biden or Trump are good on this issue. So both of these people.
What you're saying, Mr. Speaker, is you miss the day-to-day of Washington.
Yeah.
I hear the longing.
13 years ago, you and Kevin McCarthy wrote a book called Young Guns, The Future of Conservative Leadership. What's amazing is you're still so young. You could have a future after all.
In 25 years, I'll still be younger than Joe Biden.
That is...
Ouch.
That is scarily true.
Have to throw that in there right before
having covered that issue, wow. That was on the tip of your tongue. Paul Ryan, thank you very much. Up next, Vlad.
Okay. All right. Now, the first thing I notice is that Paul Ryan says, "Well, I'm not much of a culture warrior guy." Well, Paul, there are very important issues that involve the culture, and as the late great Andrew Breitbart once said, politics is downstream from culture. So you cannot have a conservative government in a country that has a very leftist culture. That's just not going to happen. So I don't know if he's naive or if he's just blind to that fact or if he's just ignoring it. But unless we fight these cultural issues, and again, Paul Ryan is a guy that, he says, "Oh, I'm an old Jack Kemp guy," right? Now, Jack Kemp goes back a ways in American politics, but he was probably best known as the running mate for Bob Dole in 1996 when he ran against Bill Clinton and lost. But he talks about being inclusive. Well, the Trump coalition in 2016 and in 2020, when he got 75 million votes, is the most diverse, inclusive, to use Paul Ryan's language, a coalition of any Republican presidential candidate in history. That's just a fact. So I don't know why he thinks that somehow focusing on these issues is going to be exclusive, because it's bringing more and more people into the Republican Party. More people than were in the party than when Paul Ryan ran on the ticket with Mitt Romney and lost. Not only lost, but one of the main reasons why Mitt Romney picked Paul Ryan to be his running mate was in the hopes that he would help carry his home state of Wisconsin. And they did not. So Paul Ryan doesn't know much about winning elections. He's called Trump a loser, says Trump has no chance of winning in 2024, when there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of that. All the polls show not just one poll, but in the aggregate, Trump's running better than any other Republican candidate against Joe Biden or against Kamala Harris or whoever the Democrats end up running in 2024. And notice how Paul Ryan also doesn't even correct this guy here. This is Nate Burleson, who's a former NFL player turned pundit, I guess. When he talks about banning books, nobody's banning books. He doesn't even have the balls to come in and say, well, wait a second, Nate, nobody's banning books. We're talking about not having sexually explicit and devious material in school libraries. The books still exist. You can still go to a public library and get the book. You can still buy the book. So the book's not banned by any meaningful definition of that word. And Paul Ryan doesn't even, he just goes along with it. He accepts the premise. Paul Ryan is just, he's out of touch. Maybe he's a decent guy. Maybe his heart's in the right place. I don't know. But he's just blind when it comes to politics. And if a guy like me can see it, I'm sure many other people can see it too. And you see these mainstream media hacks here just fawning all over Paul Ryan, and they're giving him these softball questions because he hates Trump. You think if Paul Ryan was actually seen as a threat to any of the leftist orthodoxy on a real level, that he would be getting this kind of treatment from them? Well, he would not. He would not. So let me know what you all think. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.